Today's fairy tale comes from Jewish folklore. It was collected in Yemen, and it is about some helpful demons and how murdering your husband is, sometimes okay. It's called The Hunter and the King's Fair Daughter. A hunter and his wife can't have kids, and they're very sad. And then one day a soothsayer comes along, and he's like, hey, you're gonna give birth to a son. And the hunter's like, my wife's too old to give birth to a son. And he's like, well, she's gonna. But he says you must never disclose his father's craft to him. Never let him know his dad was a hunter, otherwise horrible things will befall him. The son gets born, and I don't know if his dad is retired at that point, but somehow people keep his craft from him. And then the father dies once he's a young man. He goes to his mother and he's like, what did my father do? And she said, he was a forester. Lies to him. The young man gets an axe and goes out in the woods to cut down trees, but he hates it and he's not good at it. And eventually he goes and sits on the road and cries, and a passerby comes by and says, hey, why are you crying? And he's like, my dad was a forester, but I hate cutting down trees. And they're like, no, your dad was a hunter. Just spill the beans there. And they're like, well, that's why you're unhappy. So he goes home and is like, Mom, you lied to me. And she admits that. So he gets a bow and arrows and sets off to go be a hunter. Well, one day he catches this golden bird and he feels like it's a shame to kill it. So he takes it to try and sell it in the marketplace, not knowing its value, but it's apparently high because everyone he goes to says, I don't have enough money for that bird. So he takes it home. But by then, the rumors about the golden bird had reached the ears of the Sultan's vizier, who was a blind Jew. Anyway, the vizier says, hey, Sultan, you don't have everything awesome in the world. You don't have this golden bird that this hunter has in this one village. And the Sultan's like, well, get it for me. The hunter's brought before the Sultan, and the Sultan's like, I will pay you for that bird, or if you won't give it to me, I'll have you beheaded. So he gives him the bird. Well, then the vizier goes to the Sultan and says, you need to have the bowl of God. And the hunter's got that too. So they bring in the hunter and he's like, all right, I'm going to pay you for that bowl of God, or I'm going to behead you. But the hunter doesn't have it. So he's like, can I have a few days? The Sultan says yes. And so the dude runs into the desert. Well, out there, he meets a shed. A shed is a shadim, which is a kind of demon in Jewish folklore. They're a little different from demons in Christianity in that they aren't like evil demigods. They are the gods of foreigners usually. And they're not like evil, like trying to do harm, just evil in the sense that they are not of God. In fact, later in Judeo-Islamic culture, it became the Hebrew word for jinn or genie. Because like jinn and like European fairies, they're sort of morally ambivalent. Not evil, they just don't go by our code. The shed in this story is only described as having very long ears. The hunter asks the shed if he knows where he can get this bowl of God, and he says yes, it's in the 7th kingdom in the palace of the king of the shadim, and once a week on Sabbath, 100 soldiers wearing swords take out the bowl and carry it through the streets of the city. He's like, I'll help you get it. If you're successful, you'll end up with the bowl. If we fail, we're both gonna die. You have to listen to everything I say. And the hunter says, yeah, I will. So the shed gives him some hair and says, travel until you can't travel anymore, and then burn my hair and I'll come to you. And he does that. The shed puts him on his shoulders and flies up into the sky until they get to this 7th kingdom, which is up there. They wait to the Sabbath, and the hunter follows the shed's instructions, which are get into the procession when you see the bowl, grab the bowl with both hands, and then the shed goes above and stretches out his whole body to bring a shadow on it, and then they grab it and they fly away. The hunter successfully takes the bowl to the Sultan, and the shed leaves but gives him another hair and says, burn this if you need me again. But then the Sultan's vizier is at it again, and he tells the Sultan, you do not have everything until you get the fair daughter of Sinsin, and only the hunter can go get this girl for you. The hunter has to set off or he's gonna get beheaded again, so he takes all the money he's gotten and gives half to his mom in case he doesn't ever come back, takes the rest to buy a camel and some flour, and he goes on his journey, but then these giant ants come out and devour all his flour, and it turns out they are shadim, and they're like, hey, here's some hairs from us, thanks for the food, we'll help you out if you ever need it. Our guy burns the hair of the long-eared shed, tells him what he needs, and the long-eared shed puts him on his shoulders, flies him to the kingdom of this Sinsin guy. There are 99 men strung up on ropes. They are all men who have tried to win the girl previously. The hunter approaches the king and says, hey, I want to win your daughter. And the king's like, okay, well, you have to empty all of the reservoirs and vessels in my country tonight, and you also have to separate a bunch of different grain from corn. The hunter gets the long-eared shed to do the water thing, and then he calls upon the ant sheds and gets them to sort out the grain, and he accomplishes the task. Well, I mean, he doesn't, but they never do in these stories. So he wins the fair daughter, but he does not take her back to the Sultan. He marries her himself and stays there for a whole nother month living in the palace. But during that whole month, he does not touch her because he still does intend to take her back to the Sultan. He just doesn't want the king, her dad, to know that because he's afraid that'll anger him. But even though they're not touching during this month, they get to know each other, they fall in love. Eventually, they have the Shed take them back to the Sultan, but on the way, they tell the Shed, hey, we're in love and we don't want her to be with him. What do we do? And the Shed says, Sinsin's daughter must remain a month in the Sultan's palace, and after that, if she still loves you and wants you, she should kill the Sultan. The hunter and the girl agree to this plan, so she goes to the Sultan, but she also says she wants to have a blind Jew killed before her eyes, and the only one around is his evil vizier who's been trying to cause problems for the hunter for no reason that we can understand. But anyway, he gets killed. The hunter goes and waits in the desert for what's gonna happen. 30 days pass, and the girl decides she still doesn't want the Sultan, she wants the hunter, so she poisons his wine and she kills him. She summons the hunter, who comes in and marries her, and the people all ask for him to be the new Sultan because the Sultan left no heir. So he becomes the new Sultan, and he and the girl live in happiness to the end of their days. As always, check out my book, Dust Spells, a reimagining of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and my podcast. All the links are in the bio.